Can people on Teams hear me?
We can now.
We're working on technical difficulties.
Understood.
Hopefully there's no feedback.
Okay, good. Oh, there's feedback actually.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry. We're gonna try to fix this. Okay. Hey team, I don't know if y'all heard. We are now in a five-minute recess to address our tech stuff, but fix things on our end.
All right, sounds good.
So please be posted. We're gonna fix it as soon as we can. But I am talking through my personal phone.
Copy that.
Hello? Oh,
Hello.
hear me?
We can.
Okay, wait. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Ah, awesome.
Someone turned off the soundboard.
Okay. I mean, get the PowerPoint going. If everyone can head back to their seats. All right, I call this meeting to order again. We're reconvening at 5:52 p.m. All righty, code reminders on the screen. Today's agenda, call to order, executive reports, approval of minutes. We have unfinished business, S 2022 B2, S 2022 R4, S 2022 R5. For new business, we have Senate committee reports, college reports, shout outs and announcements, and of course adjournment.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
I'd like to make an amendment to today's agenda. I'd like to add S 2022 R6 to the agenda.
Okay. Is there a second?
Senator
Peter
Gillis.
Baker seconds.
All righty. Senator Cal?
Can I move into a period of discussion on the motion?
Sure. Is there a second? All right. Seconded by Senator McDowell. We're now in a period of discussion. You have the first discussion point.
If it's okay, I do have a discussion point, but I want to ask a few questions first.
You would like to enter a period of questioning?
Point of order,
Uh,
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
It was not moved into emergency status. Can we not, we're not allowed to discuss it. We're only allowed to.
So
present it.
this is a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay.
We're questioning
Oh, okay.
whether to add or amend the document,
Thank you.
not to discuss the status of the
I
legislation.
appreciate it.
Senator Cowell, you have the floor.
Okay. So obviously this is not on the agenda, and that means that it was submitted late, if submitted at all. So I just want to ask, because I saw it in the Teams group chat, and so I was just wondering if David, if this was sent to you, and if so, when?
Yeah, it was submitted to me, I believe, Monday around like 11 p.m. ish.
Okay.
Before the agenda was made public. So
Okay.
if that kind of helps.
Sure.
I've been in constant contact with David over this and with the other authors.
Uh-huh.
The one posted in the Senate.
Senator Johnson, I believe the question was referred to me.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker.
My
Make sure
next
you're
question
recognized.
is for you, Grant. Why are you introducing this legislation?
So obviously with everything kind of going on in the state of Texas, the world, and even here at UNT, with every organization putting out stuff and also just terms to make sure that our constituents feel supported, as well as the SGA executives put out a note of solidarity. And so I feel like as the Senate, we should also put one out. If the executives put SGA as a whole, then this probably wouldn't have been best. But since it's SGA as an executives kind of, not want to say forced our hand, but made it to like, oh, this would be a good idea for us kind of thing to show even SGA Senate. And the reason why it wasn't put ahead of time was also because we had to meet with the authors. We had to make sure the language was correct. We even had a little one-on-one or side conversation with David about language to make sure that it wasn't open or to targeting anybody that we just support. Hope that answers your question.
So you mentioned that you wanted to put it into emergency status, and I know we haven't discussed that yet, but you mentioned it in your message. Is my understanding that emergency status is normally for something that's an emergency and an action needs to be taken, and that action has to be taken immediately? As far as I know, this is just a statement. There's no action to be had in the legislation. So why?
There is.
Why? Okay.
In the last let it be resolved that the action be that this is posted on all SJ platforms and posted with an adequate time to the SGA website.
So that's just a statement.
Well, because we can't really enforce anything by law.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I wish we could write legislation that was enforced by law, but
Mhm.
no, we cannot.
I also want to ask, did you coordinate with any trans students about this legislation?
I did talk to a few of my constituents, yes.
Okay.
I partnered
Um,
with other authors who also talked to their constituents.
Point of privilege, Mr. Speaker. Could we get the
Yes.
legislation on the screen, please?
David, I sent you the updated one.
So I can pull it up on my email here.
While David is pulling that up, would you say that you submitted this legislation because the execs submitted a statement that did not include Senate? They sent it from the execs only and not from the whole SGA, and that's why you want Senate to submit their own statement?
So I would, even if executives didn't do it like just for executives, I still think it would speak to that we do represent our constituents, all of them kind of thing. So it was a factor, but it wasn't the deciding factor.
Okay. And it seems like because y'all submitted late, it was kind of rushed. Do you think you took adequate time to think about what the legislation does or doesn't do?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, if I might, I would like to make a discussion point.
Go ahead. So we're entering a period of discussion. I think we've been in one, but
technically
okay.
already were.
Go, you can proceed.
So I would like everybody to know that I think this legislation is duplicitous, and it is lukewarm. I don't think it's very strong, and I think it would hurt the legislative branch if we considered it. It is a bigger statement to write actionable legislation than it is something that, to me, seems performative and non-committal. I know, personally speaking with trans students and reading submissions from survey my co-authors and I are working on, trans students are upset because everybody is giving statements of solidarity saying we stand with you in non-specific general statements, while nobody has done anything to actually protect and defend them. Half the responses I've read are from people tearing apart the university president because he submitted a statement rather than a policy change to actually address and penalize transphobic harassment on campus. Personally, my younger sister is literally texting me every night because she's trans and she faces these issues. They need action. They are sick of statements. It is a disservice to the trans community to consider and pass this legislation because it's performative. And you said yourself, reactionary to what the executive branch submitted, which was a statement of solidarity. That branch has the power to do that. They do not have the power to pass legislation. We do. We should never do things in response to the executive branch. It's not our job or our duty to our constituents. We should only address and craft legislation for things that harm the student body. This is not the kind of situation. I asked my fellow senators to give me and my team, comprised of trans students and trans student leaders, to finish the legislation that we're already working on. We are taking our time, doing our research, and building something that will be effective and will last, and that takes time. So please be patient. We can take this issue with something actionable, and that will be a much more important statement to the student body about the Senate's position on the issue than legislation that's less than a full page.
All right, Senator Schulte.
Senator Schulte moves to re-amend the agenda to take S22R6 off.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think we ever voted
Okay,
on it.
so let's take a pause moment. So we can the Senate can vote on the motion at hand, whether to amend and add this legislation. But currently we're still in discussion point. Someone would have to, Senator Johnson,
I'd like to actually answer that discussion point.
go ahead.
So this is obviously, I do not mean to, and we've talked one-on-one, this is nowhere to impede the wonderful, wonderful work that you and the other trans community leaders, as well as trans students, are taking. I do agree that this is nowhere enough to where it should be, but it's kind of the first domino to fall kind of thing. This would start the language, and I do believe in your message, this was not the factor that did it, but it was a factor to do it, but it was not the deciding factor. But with like everything that was going on and the messages and all that kind of stuff, it was nowhere near. I was still going to introduce this. The only reason I didn't put it on the agenda because I was waiting on other senators to reach out, and only 2 of them did. And so we had to meet. That's how that went. That's my 2 points.
Senator Allen.
I would just like to say I do agree with Senator Cowell about how this is a bit duplicitous and repetitious. The not the Senate, the SGA, while it's not specifically the Senate, has already released a statement, and like Beige said, as nice as it is to see like some statements of solidarity, it's really not what us as like a trans community really needs right now in regards to the situation happening on campus.
All right, Senator Brown.
Senator Brown moves to a period of voting.
Is there a second?
Senator Allen seconds.
Would we like to do rose by hands? All right, all those that do want to amend and add this piece of legislation, raise your hand.
Point of order, or can I move to do roll call voting?
Yes.
Real quick, is it yes to put it on the agenda, no to not put it on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Currently, I'm doing a raise of hands unless someone objects.
Senator Lee objects.
All right, we're entering a roll call vote. Again, I want to repeat the motion that's being considered. It was moved and seconded that S 2022 R6 statement on solidarity with the LGBTQ plus community be added to the agenda under new business. And it was seconded. We can start roll call. Voting in favor means you do want to add it. And then voting no is that you do not. Senator Schulte, if you can start roll call.
Senator Shiloh.
Okay.
Senator Brown.
Nay.
Senator McDowell.
No.
Senator Allen.
Nay.
Senator Lee.
No.
Senator Banerjee.
No.
Senator Castellanos.
Aye.
Senator Garcia.
No.
Senator Gillis.
No.
Senator Guevara.
No.
Senator Johnson.
Yes.
Senator McFarland.
No.
Senator Ruiz.
Yes.
Senator Taylor.
Nay.
Senator Von Voris. Senator M.
No.
Senator Cowell.
No.
Senator Baker.
No.
Senator Ihimiramadou.
No.
Senator Schulte. No. Senator Queventoro.
I believe it does not meet the 2/3 threshold and the motion fails. All righty. Can move on to the next item on the agenda. Executive reports. I believe they were sent out to y'all. JT could not be able to make it, but he did submit later his executive report. Reports on the screen. Do we have any questions for JT? Casey can answer them. No questions? Awesome. Yes. Sure. He did give a shout out to Sophia, me, Maria, and Casey for being on the panel we had on Monday. Whoop, whoop. Also, October. And of course, email him at sgaintern@unt.edu. All right, we good? Awesome. Any questions about Alexa's report? And of course, Casey can answer it. Just a reminder that was sent out to y'all. Any questions? Do we need more time to read it? Nope. Zoe's report, any questions? Nope. Colin's report. Any questions? All right. Zoe, not Zoe. I said Zoe already. Maya's, any questions on their report? Awesome. Any questions regarding Zabella's report? Do want to highlight the Eagle's Nest has now hit 0. Again. Woo! Bella has done an amazing job, so shout out to Bella. Any questions? Oh, we do have a question for Bella. All right, go ahead, and Casey can answer that for you.
So Eagle's Nest hitting zero, is that with the money that we approved last week, or is that still?
So at the moment, this Eagles Nest hitting zero is a projection of what we've already spent. Over the next couple weeks, there's going to be an analysis on the actual account and what's been spent to see how much money is actually left. That could be $50, it could be $200, it could be $1,000. But as projected with the money y'all moved in, yes, this is it's hit zero after last night.
Thank you.
Any other questions about Bella's report? No, awesome. Any questions on Casey's report? No. Awesome. Any questions on Devin's report? No. Do you want anything? Good?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. Any question on my report? Senator Johnson.
The heart-to-heart, is that just from recent incidents that have happened and that have been communicated to you? Or is it just to help with the new members kind of go through it?
So the heart-to-heart deals with personnel matters, and that's why we're moving into executive session next week. Senator Cal.
Could you let us know how did you have that meeting with the Pride Alliance director?
Yeah, like say that again.
Could you just tell us about that meeting?
Yeah, me and Devin were in that meeting. It was about 2 hours. Pretty good conversation. We talked about different things that are occurring on campus. A lot of it dealing with how we can move forward and making sure that we can create a more inclusive environment at UNT. I know there's definitely some things that we're going to reach out to you administration about on what to do. I know currently everything is we're scheduling meetings, hopefully to have discussion with administrators about a couple things. But other than that, pretty good. I know Kathleen, I don't know if any of y'all have met them, really awesome person, definitely a great resource. I know they are going to have the Pride Alliance open until 8 today. So if you know anyone that's going through stuff, definitely a resource to go to. But yes. Any other questions? But yes, heart-to-heart's happening next week during Senate. So we're going into executive session. It is the week before spring break. Just throwing that out there. Of course, y'all can, if y'all have legislation you want to consider, that's definitely something that y'all have the right to do. But I'm thinking it's going to be pretty light, and I think that's mainly the only thing. But of course, if there's things that we discuss, we'll still have a Senate meeting, but we'll go into executive session for that. Any other questions? Nope. All right, that's concludes executive reports. If not, you can always email me at sgavp@unt.edu. I love saying that. Okay, so I believe we have approval of minutes submitted by me. It was fun making these. Remind me times in the Senate. So any concerns? No. Awesome. Definitely want to give a shout out to our current Secretary Schulte, for having awesome minutes. So, okay. All right, we do have some unfinished business now that we're in that period. And minutes were unanimously approved. We have S 2022-B2 revision of the Constitution. And I believe there were written motions submitted by Senator Cowell. And I can pull up the first one. Of course, I'm going to change the numbering. Would you like to read the motion, Senator Cowell?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Or is there a specific one that need to go first? Because there was two. Does it matter? Okay. Go ahead.
Whereas it has been communicated that there would be logistical problems which would render a special election impractical at best and at worst impossible, a general election for a public referendum on this legislation would be more appropriate given the logistical concerns. If this motion carries to amend the legislation to have the referendum considered in a general election, and if the referendum passes, then on top of the ballot for each college, up until the limit as provided for in the new constitution, would be selected as senators. Whereas any other option regarding elections could be potentially poorly represented the student body or otherwise disrespect the will of the student body. The election commissioner and the election board would inform candidates of the potential change in Senate seats during the potential candidate informational meetings and the election code meetings. A general election for a public referendum on this legislation instead of a special election would be more appropriate given the logistical concerns of a special election. The legislation should show the specific changes to the existing constitution through an added appendix. The following amendment would be made to S 2022 B2. Appendix B be placed before the student body for approval as a referendum in the next general election of the SGA. Strike out the following with the following question. Then let it be further resolved that an appendix be added to show the specific strikeouts and insert as proposed by the commission on the SGA governing documents. Respectfully submitted.
Alrighty. Any questions, discussion points? All right, none. If you want to officially, oh, there's one. Would someone like to recognize?
I move to recognize Devin.
All right, is there a second?
Senator Allen seconds.
All right, move and recognize. Devin, you have the floor.
Yeah, I don't know if you were getting to it, but it'll of course need to be seconded before we can continue with the motion.
Yes.
And then I believe I sent the appendix that's referenced in a separate email previously. Do you need me to resend that to you or?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll try to get that to you guys up.
Yes. Okay. Senator Cal?
Okay, I move to amend S 2022 B2 as written in the motion.
Is there a second?
McDowell seconds.
Does anyone oppose? All right, it passes. Yay. Okay. So I'm gonna put that here. And then I believe we have another motion. This is W3. Senator Cowell, would you like to read again?
Yes, thank you. Whereas the question as it stands encompasses the entire Constitution, separating the question while respecting the interconnectedness of the constitutional proposal would allow for the possibility of certain parts of the constitutional proposal to be enacted without sacrificing another part of the proposal. Too many questions would create voter fatigue and would be counterproductive to the purpose of splitting the question. An inconsistency was identified with the constitutional proposal regarding the president's ability to nominate inspector generals, and there are some numbering inconsistencies that should be addressed. So let it be resolved that the following amendment be made to S 2022 B2. Quote, do you authorize the SGA to amend the undergraduate student constitution with the following changes to preamble and Article 1? Yes, no. Do you authorize the SGA to amend the undergraduate student constitution with the following changes to Articles 2, 3, 4, and 6? Yes, no. And do you authorize the SGA to amend the undergraduate student constitution with the following changes to Articles 5, 7, 8, and 9? Yes or no? Let it be further resolved that the following amendment be made to the constitutional proposal in S 2022 B2. So we would be adding to Section 5, subsection A, and the Inspector General, which is already something that was in there. We're just making sure it's consistent. And then let it be further resolved that the following amendment be made to the constitutional proposal, Article 8, amendments to this Constitution, Section 1, proposal of amendments. Subsection E, changes may be made to grammar and syntax problems in this document with notifications to all active members of the SGA. Let it be further resolved that the Speaker of the Senate be authorized to make any grammatical and formatting corrections before approval by the Senate. Respectfully submitted.
Alrighty, any discussion points or questions?
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
is point of parliamentary inquiry, is the motion on the floor?
It is not, it was read unless you want to make that motion.
I move the motion.
Senator Cowell seconds.
Alrighty, does anyone object?
Senator Brown objects.
Alrighty, we'll go by raise of hands. All those in favor that want to amend the document or the,
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Yes.
We should go to a period of discussion since it was moved and seconded.
okay. Would someone like to go to a period of, yes, that's how I was doing raise of hands. Because he objected to making the,
Mr. Speaker, an objection doesn't stop the proceedings on a motion.
yes, but we're moving to amend. So he's objecting that, so I want to vote on the amendment. Does that
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to discuss the amendment.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second Senator Cowell.
All right, you have the first discussion point, Senator McDowell.
Thank you. I think I like it. I might. I think there's a slight problem with Article 8, the Article 8 amendment.
Okay.
So to that effect, I would move to amend the amendment so that subsection E reads, changes may be made to grammar and syntax problems in this document with notification to all active members of the SGA, full stop. To insert, such changes will not change the meaning of the document.
I second.
All right, say that one more time.
Full stop, so period, sorry. Such changes will not alter the meaning of this document.
Okay, highlight those.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was seconded. Senator Brown.
My discussion point is that grammar and syntax can be kind of broad in the sense that you could use a synonym for a word and slightly alter the meaning, and after done a few times can change the meaning of an article or a section. And that the meaning of this document can be kind of broad, especially once those that have adjusted it have graduated and can no longer be readily asked. I motion that I move that the amendment be amended to say changes may be made to grammar and syntax problems in this document with notification to all active members of the SGA pending approval of the Senate. So it would be a comma before the period.
I'm going to change the color. Okay. Pending the approval of the Senate.
I second this motion.
Period after Senate?
Yes.
Okay. Let's work like a burrito. So let's discuss the green first. So is there any issues with the green? Because we're amending the amendment to the amendment. So I'm trying to work backwards to make sure we're not confused. And Senator Cow, do you have a discussion point?
I give the floor to Andy.
Okay.
Point of order.
Yes.
Would anybody like to second my amendment to the amendment?
Oh,
McDowell seconds.
okay.
Are there any objections?
All right. Are we
And
good?
then I second Andy's amendment to the amendment as well. The blue.
I believe that was already seconded.
Oh,
or wasn't it? Yeah. So, alrighty. Do we have any issues? Well, what is in green? Anyone? Oh, Senator. I'm not Senator. Oh my God. Would someone like to recognize Devin to speak?
Senator Cowell recognizes President Skinner.
Is there a second?
McDowell, second.
Hello, Devin.
It's been a minute since I've been a senator. It's cool to get that title again. No, I'm kidding. The only thing I would mention is approval by what standard? Simple two-third or absolute two-third? I think there's just some ambiguity on approval, the approval standard.
Senator Cowell?
I move to amend the et cetera
Okay.
to now read pending the simple 2/3 approval of the Senate.
Senator Brown objects.
Okay.
Is there a
Um,
second? Is there a second to the simple 2/3?
I
Senator
change
Baker
it
seconds.
to absolute 2/3.
Okay, you want to change it again?
Yes.
Okay, so absolute.
Senator Brown seconds the change.
Okay.
Point of information.
Yes.
What is the difference again between a simple 2/3 and a absolute 2/3?
So an absolute 2/3 is the current, it's a higher standard. So that means, so we have 21 senators in total currently. 2/3 of 21 have to vote yes. So currently, and the math may be wrong, we would need 14 people to vote yes on a constitutional amendment for it to pass. Simple means more of, let's say we had 20 people, we had a quorum present, but not everyone was here. It'll be based on that number.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does that answer questions? So, yes, did it? No? Okay. I need to change this. Okay. Andy,
I move. Hello. I move to a period of voting on the current question.
okay, give me 1 second. You know, David is slow when typing things. Okay, okay, absolute 2/3 is a different color because just to make sure we're all good.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
2/3 should have an S after the D.
Grammatical changes that would need an absolute 2/3. Awesome. Okay. We're good with what's in purple or violet. Okay. Any objections to that? No. All right, passes. So now we have to do that with the green. So now it turns green. Anyone have an issue with what is in green? Good. All right, that passes. So now we're going back. So now we're voting the whole thing together because now it's blue. Any issues with that? All right, the amendment has passed. Now we have to vote on if the Senate would like to continue, vote on the motion itself. So I believe we're back to that. Senator Brown.
Senator Brown would like to move to a period of voting on the written amendment.
All right, is there a second?
Senator Taylor, second.
Does anyone object? Any object to the motion itself? No, it passes unanimously. All righty, so now that too was taken care of, I'm going to save that. Now we have to discuss S2022 B2. Okay. Any discussion, Devin? Since you're an author, you can now speak.
I was just wondering if we want to take a moment to make the changes from the motion now, or what the plan is with that. Typically, when we make an amendment, it just happens to the document, but I guess it's up to y'all. I just want to throw that out there.
Senator McDowell?
I move a 5-minute recess for the document to be updated with the amendments.
Senator Cowell seconds.
Does anyone object? Nope. All right. We're now in a 5-minute recess. I'm going to mute my mic. Testing, testing. All righty. I call this meeting to order at 6:42 p.m. We're now in order. Now we're in session. All righty. Sorry that took forever. All righty. So S 2022 B2 revision of the Constitution. Whew, I'm a little out of breath. So I know, like I said last time, I'm trying to go in a manner that is the most organized. So do we have any questions? And if we do, I recommend to go to a period of questioning. Senator Johnson.
So it's going to be like how we did last time, just line by line.
I'll organize it based on the actual change itself. But do we have any questions? Any question at this time? I'm giving the Senate the opportunity to do that. Senator Johnson?
This does not pertain to this, but an author has to leave early, so can we amend the agenda to put the food for all students first, knock that out, and then come back to this?
If that's what the Senate wants.
Do I need to make the motion first?
Yes.
Senator Johnson moves that we amend the agenda.
Senator Rui seconds.
Before, I would rephrase the motion to state the following. I move to consider S 2021 R5 before considering S 2022 B2. Would you like to withdraw your motion?
I would like to withdraw my motion.
Okay, you still have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we amend the agenda to bring
To consider.
Moving the agenda S.
Do you mind if I state the statement and then you just say, move what David said? Okay. Senator Grant Johnson moves to consider S 2022 R5 before S 2022 B2.
What David said.
I move to
do what David said.
Is there a second?
Senator Rui seconds.
All righty. Does anyone object? Someone like to recognize Casey to speak? Senator McDowell?
I move to recognize Casey.
Senator, give that a second.
All right, Casey.
Hello. I would just like to see if we can get a count of quorum for 2/3. If we're considering constitutional revisions, we'll need at least 2/3 of the Senate here to vote on it.
19 in Senate chamber, 20 with Senator Baker via Teams. All righty. So does anyone object? No, correct? All right. We're considering S 2022 R5, food for all students. Is there any discussions on the floor? Senator Schulte?
When was the last time any of the authors went to Bruce?
Is this so we're entering a period of questioning?
Oh, yes.
All
Senator
right.
Schulte moves to a period of questioning.
Is there a second?
Senator Allen seconds.
All right, we're in a period of questioning. So this is for the authors. So the question is, when's the last time you ate a Bruce Hall?
Personally, I ate.
Not a trick question.
Just go ahead and answer it.
I ate there about maybe a week or two ago.
I ate there about 3 hours ago.
Can somebody hand?
Yeah, I haven't gone there.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's-
he's one of the authors.
But the guy next to him. Sorry.
No.
You're just for support. Okay.
Okay.
A constituent.
Okay. So my discussion point is, I was at Bruce. Question. Have you heard of the menus of change?
Yes.
Have. Scroll up. It looks like y'all have not cited anything about menus of change, and I feel like this could really be beneficial to this legislation a lot. Can I don't want to add it because I want y'all to look at it before we add.
I can answer.
So
Point of privilege. Could you
Yes.
please speak more into the mic? It's hard to hear.
The math.
You just gotta be loud.
It's not
Some
the-
of the mics are gained a little
Is it not-
It's just trash mic. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of how to word this. I would like to move. Yes, for this document to be postponed until next week so I can coordinate with the authors with information beneficial to their legislation.
Is there a second?
Senator Taylor.
Senator
Swift.
Baker.
Alrighty.
Senator Johnson objects.
So,
Point of information.
yes.
If a legislation were to be postponed to be amended, should it be moved to a committee?
So, because of last week, or y'all have the ability to postpone the consideration of items that happened with S 2022 B2. Y'all, that was something that was discussed last week. Y'all postpone it for this week. So that would be in order. Senator Castellanos.
I didn't really get a chance to respond to your question, Gracie. I know you're kind of asking, have we considered it? I don't think as a whole of the three authors we've considered it, but it's something I have looked at personally. And it's to my understanding that the menus have changed to promote more like less red meat and more like plant-based stuff and more chicken-based. You know what I mean? Like less of the red meat kind of harmful stuff, and to be more like go green. From what I looked at, there wasn't anything for like religious dietary needs, and so for halal in this specific instance, and so it wasn't anything we brought up to kind of put into the legislation.
Well, I looked at the website, and I have multiple things screenshotted that I'd love to show you, talking about self-discovery, fresh experiences, supporting students' growth by cultivating an inclusive environment where where differences are valued, which I feel like that line alone is very crucial to this. And also it's menu of change. So like here we are trying to change the menu.
So this is my recommendation to the Senate on the use of time. You're able to do whatever you think, but just for time's sake, I think we need to make a decision on the postponement. Senator Johnson.
So two things. One, when has UNT not used the words inclusive for all cultures and not really participated in that? Second, you didn't really talk to us about, we could have talked about this before the meeting and stuff like that. It may be helpful, but does it hurt the legislation in any way? So it would just benefit it. Okay, since this is already kind of like vague and we've all kind of gone over it, I would love to table it, but I think we're good as it is kind of thing. Because again, if it was like for Islamic food practices or religious and something like that, but UNT is again doing that vague thing, diverse, inclusive for all. We want to listen, but who knows if they're actually going to do that. So
Okay, so then what is the point of this bill?
to get the conversation started. If they're just keep doing the stuff, that was my understanding, and to help out MSA.
I agree. So
if the
by
M-
adding this to the legislation, that conversational starter point would be much stronger.
Agreed, but also adding the student.
So you
government
agree?
Moving the Student Government Association name behind it.
I'm going to stop this conversation. So I understand that we're passionate about something. I get it. I don't think we should be making assumptions about departments. Since conversations, I don't know if have been made or not, I think the Senate needs to make a decision about this. And I think going in circles is not going to respect the Senate's time. Senator Shiloh.
I have one more question that I
Yes.
feel like would be relevant to
Yes.
how this plays out. Grant and authors in general, have you met with the head or any of the leadership in dining to talk about the possibility of this? And if so, what did they say about the feasibility?
Mustafa, you can talk. Yes.
All right. Is this on? Okay, cool. So like I mentioned last week in the Zoom session, I have spoken with leaders from UNT Dining, and as mentioned in what I was talking about last week, the feasibility, the reasons that were given were not really that concrete, I would say, beyond the point of perhaps price and other options. And then also, I like to bring up the statement where they said, it's understood that students who have chosen to eat halal will be eating, it's understood that they'll be eating off of campus. So that is the response I've been given from executives in UNT Dining.
Senator Ali, do you mind speaking into the mic? And just to emphasize, when you mean leaders, do you mean specifically Peter, the executive director of dining? Or do you know specifically?
It might have been Peter. I'm forgetting the name of the person I spoke with.
Okay. Go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt.
Yes.
Just so the mic can
one
get
more
it.
follow-up question. So this legislation or backing by SGA would just be to put the pressure on the leadership to get the ball rolling, get the conversation started?
And actually, I pulled up my notes from that day when I met with them. It was Peter Balovich.
Okay. All right. So Senator Saloni, or Banerjee, sorry.
Thank you. My question, Mustafa, if you have a second, I have one question for you. How do you feel about the postponement of this legislation?
So I just looked up what menu for change, is that what it's called? I'm forgetting the name. Menu for changes is, and while, it is a great initiative, by UNC to, I guess, promote, healthier options and other options, I feel like there's only one line in there I saw that was about, catering to other cultures and creating more inclusiveness. So I don't think it would help a great deal if it were added. Yes, sure, it would help maybe, to an extent, but I think that what we have so far, should be sufficient, in my opinion.
Follow? So what was your purpose then for this legislation? Did you want to start the conversation, or did you want UNT to respond with a yes, we're going to implement something, or a no? Did you want a response?
Yes, we would, obviously the preferred response would be that UNT would see this, they would see the support behind it, between MSA and the Student Government Association, and they would go forward with, working to implement halal options on this campus.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Lee moves to a period of discussion.
All righty. Is there a second? All right, seconded by Senator McDowell. Senator Lee, you have the floor.
I have two things, but my mind just went blank, so give me a sec to.
Of course.
So first is something that I was thinking about is I think people might be misunderstanding what Gracie or Senator Schulte was hoping to, and at least is my interpretation, is that including menus of change is another way of holding UNT accountable, that they're part of something and they've said that they are going to do this. And it's another line of saying, hey, you have agreed to do this. And another thing that I would point out is that menus of change is also a collaborative initiative between multiple universities, and something that Mustafa brought up before was that there's lots of other universities around the country that are starting to implement halal options, but it's obviously not happening anywhere, and so happening everywhere. And so I think also including menus of change would also get the ball rolling and hold the entire organization, like the group of all of the campus dining halls, accountable, and move this forward nationally rather than just in our own isolated area.
Senator Schulte.
So the screenshot that I have, which is literally on the wall of Bruce, says UNT is a founding member of the Menus of Change University Research Collaborative, and we partnered with other like-minded university food service folks. Together, we are more than the sum of our parts. So just to name a few, of the founding colleges, UNT, University of Washington, Notre Dame, Cornell, University of Montana, USC, Yale, Virginia Tech, K-State, Harvard, UCLA, Princeton, what is this? Leyland, Stanford Junior University, UC Riverside, and University of Massachusetts. Very big colleges. Thank you, Senator Lee.
Senator Ruiz.
I would like to just remind everyone that this bill is essentially making a specificity that will make it easier for Muslim students to have access to a certain part of their diet that is crucial and necessary for them to eat on campus. You're putting a gamble if you just let UNT wait to make a menu that will cater to MSA students or Muslim students. By putting this bill, it starts the conversation immediately, initially, and if we pass it as soon as possible, we're increasing that opportunity for them. We can take a gamble and revise this bill and set it to postpone in order for us to take into consideration what Senator Schulte found. However, it's not a guarantee that this bill is already providing. So I think that while we can speculate as much as we want, it's still speculation. It's not a 100% guarantee. Passing this bill is a 100% guarantee. And that's what the bill authors are trying to remind us of. I yield my time.
Senator Cal.
Okay. Well, personally, I think referencing menus of change and holding the university accountable will strengthen our ethos, even if it does delay this a week. And so, unless Senator Schulte did not officially make the motion, and I'm not sure.
She did.
I move that we vote on whether or not to postpone this an extra week for the purpose of possibly adding certain stuff. I think we should just vote because we're talking in circles.
Senator Banerjee, seconds.
Okay. I know it's not precedent that a speaker makes a comment. I'm going to. I know a comment has been made to me regarding this issue. I'm letting you know I'm not knowledgeable in this topic, but kosher foods was brought up. I don't know if that's something the authors have considered. I don't know if there's many of a difference or it would be cheaper, but definitely wanted to throw that out there. Senator Johnson.
So the kosher thing, as you brought up, that was an idea like, why don't we include this as well? But this is to address, I can never pronounce this word, specifically for Muslim students on campus. Senator Schulte, you brought up an excellent point. I would like to add that, but here's the thing though, if it goes to legislative committee, we have a spring break kind of thing. We have a whole nother week lost. So this, again, as someone, I think it was Shiloh who said this, or it might have been Saloni, said that this will put pressure on the dining executives. We can bring that up when we're making the argument to them credibly, when we're having one-on-one conversations. But I think for now, we should move on with voting and move on with the rest of the agenda. With that said, I move that we vote on this piece of legislation.
Point of order.
Okay.
Point of order.
Yes.
I moved that we vote on whether or not to postpone a week, and it was seconded. I know it was objected. Do we need to vote on that?
So y'all are making discussion points. So until when we can vote, raise of hands. But Senator Van Voris, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring up the point that I think spring break is going to be a blockade whether we vote on this piece of legislation or not. Say we vote on it today, it gets passed, it can get lost in translation and it can get lost in the bottom of an email pile that's going to compound over the course of spring break. Whereas I think if we were to move this piece of legislation to a committee and begin having an abundance of meetings where this bill is not going to be killed, but it can be better unified so that it's more impactful for the future of UNT, rather than passing it now and then having to pass more pieces of legislation in the future. I think it's not abnormal to schedule a meeting next week. And we could schedule a meeting with Gracie. We could schedule a meeting with MSA. We could schedule a meeting with the dining leaders. And in relation with if we were to move this document to the Legislative Affairs Committee so that it can be better crafted to substitute food.
Okay. By any chance, Casey or Devin, can we get battery so we can contact IT to get more. All of them are dying, but go ahead, Sophia.
With that, I'd like to move this piece of legislation to the Legislative Affairs Committee. Or I motion to, I'm so sorry.
You move to, but legislative affairs
Yeah.
or diversity and inclusion or campus life and environment.
Legislative Affairs.
All right.
Senator Lee
order?
second.
Yes.
Is she allowed to make this motion while we're in a discussion about another motion
You are 100% correct. Okay.
that we
So,
haven't voted on that was objected?
okay. Who want, okay, what? Senator Shiloh?
I would just, I think.
Okay. Good. Senator Banerjee.
Like, what is he gonna call this? I move that we vote on whether or not vote on postponing.
Yes, postponing.
Or this, yeah.
A week, just a week.
Senator Brown seconds the movement.
All right. Okay.
Point of order.
Yes.
If we postpone, does that mean we cannot defer it to the Legislative Affairs Committee?
So if you postpone it a week, it's going to be on the agenda next week. We'll consider it. Okay. Y'all, I'm telling you, this is my only warning. Please raise your hand when to talk. That's we have procedure to make sure things are moving smoothly. I don't need this. All right? It's a long meeting. I get it. Let's just make a decision. So, voting. Anyone object to postpone, sorry.
Point of information, what is the motion currently at hand?
Currently, it was moved to vote on the postponement of this legislation for a week. Anyone object to voting? If you vote yes, it's postponed. If you vote no, it's not. Does it make sense? Because we have too many motions on the table currently. Gracie moved and seconded. Someone objected. We had so many discussion points. We have to go at bits and bits. Does it make sense? Unless I'm mistaken. Senator McDowell?
Just a parliamentary thing. To my understanding, we need to vote on whether to end debate on the motion to postpone. And then after that, we can vote on the motion to postpone, is my understanding.
Okay, so Senator Reese.
I'm just giving a point of parliamentary inquiry. So if we're voting to postpone the bill, you have stated that we cannot move it to Legislative Affairs Committee.
I think it's to my knowledge, if you postpone it, you cannot. Okay. Unless you vote no, then you can do whatever you need to do with the legislation. So let's just
So if you vote no to postpone it, then we can vote to move it to legislative affairs.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. That's
Okay.
all I was asking. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, period of voting. Also, if you can move all the dead mics to the end so we can get it fixed, that would be amazing. All right, period of voting to postpone S 2022 R5. We'll start with roll call. Point of information, Senator Banerjee, yes.
But if we postpone, is this even working?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, if we vote to postpone it, and then it'll just be on next week's agenda, next week, could we not vote to move it to legislative affairs then?
You could, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Sophia, you want to address issues before the Senate consider it, correct?
Yes, okay, I was just.
Okay. Senator Schulte, let's start roll call. Or actually, let's do raise of hands. Who wants to postpone it? Raise your hand. Postpone it. So if you postpone, you consider it next week. So if you're voting yes, you're postponing, and it will be considered next week, and it cannot be referred to a committee. Okay. It will not be referred to a committee if you vote yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those that object, raise your hand. Senator McDowell, what is the threshold for postponement? Is it a simple? Okay. If no one, I'm going to say the motion fails unless otherwise. So it's S 2022 R5 will not be postponed. I'm going to wait until Andy gives me. I would check the table in the very back. And again, y'all, I do not like raising my voice, so I do apologize. I'm just trying to make sure that there's no confusion. So again, sorry about that, but
Okay.
all right, it fails. All righty, Senator Van Voris.
I move that S 2022 R5 Food for All Students go to the Legislative Affairs Committee.
Senator Ray seconds.
Anyone object?
Senator Garcia objects.
All right, we'll go to raise of hands. All those in favor that want this legislation to be referred to a Legislative Affairs Committee, raise your hand. All those that are against. All right, motion passes. It's referred to the committee. We can move on. So now we're going back to the Constitution, S 2022 B2. All righty, so this is how I'm going to go about this. Going back, any questions? All right. We'll go into, Senator,
It's more like to the General Senate, but are we all just, we're pretty satisfied with this, how the Constitution is right now, right? Like how the current plans to change it, right? We're all pretty satisfied with it, right? No, we're not? What?
no, he's saying is everyone,
Yeah, kind of we're all pretty good with this Constitution, right? No, we're not? We're not? Okay, never mind.
okay. All right, any questions? Okay, guys, questions. If we have question at this time, I need a senator to move to a period of questioning. If you have questions about specific things in the document, Senator Brown.
Point of order, is this, I know that it was postponed. Is this can you remind me, is this the first or second consideration of this document?
Second. That
Senator
means,
Brown moves to a period of discussion.
okay, is there a second?
Senator Garcia seconds.
Okay, so now that we're in a period of discussion, I'm going to go about it in a specific way to make sure that we're going in a specific order to deal with all our concerns, make discussion points, et cetera, et cetera. If there's no objections, Devin, you are recognized.
Thanks. This isn't on content, and I know JD was the first to go to the motion. I'll just make this quick. This week is the last week that we can make an action on this legislation. If there's not an action, this legislation doesn't go anywhere. The referendum deadline is on Friday. So just Friday at 5 p.m. So just to make sure everyone understands kind of the situation with this. Just as we're kind of going through any discussion, we're keeping that in mind. But I guess hand it over to JD.
Okay, so this is how I'm going to go about this order. I'm going to consider article about the Senate last and deal everything else words. And this, I'll announce what we're discussing. Make your discussion points. Continue. Make any actions. We'll move on, okay? Any confusion on that? Any clarification? Okay. Preamble in Article 1. Any discussion points? Pretty straightforward? Okay. Article 2. Actually, let me make this, okay. Scrolling. Yes, of course I can. I'll make it even bigger. Any discussion points? Without, go ahead, Devin. Just
Yeah. I was corrected. Thank you, Krista. It's actually next week at 5 p.m. I will say similar effect because I think next week y'all are doing a heart-to-heart. You won't really, I don't think, be discussing business next week, so it still kind of has the same effect. But to clarify, the referendum deadline is next Friday at 5 p.m., not this Friday. Sorry.
okie dokie. Discussion point on Article 2.
Information. Is the heart-to-heart replacing the Senate meeting or is it after?
So it's going to be during. We're going into executive session.
Is that something that we vote on or that you just agree?
I'm going to add it to the agenda. Okay, any other questions? So we're talking about the Constitution, Article 2, and discussion points. No, move on. And once I move on, I'm not going back unless the Senate requests me to. I'm skipping the Senate because I think there's a lot of changes, and I think that should be for the end. Article 5, executive branch. Any discussion points? I'm going to try to change the view to make it 2 pages. So executive branch, any discussion points? If there is not, I will continue. Alrighty, judicial branch. Any discussion points? Without objection, Krista, you are recognized. If not, I can.
Hi, y'all. So I don't know the last time I've spoken about a piece of legislation. So if you don't mind, I'm not one for major speeches, so I wrote my notes down. If you're okay, I'll just kind of read through it. So I decided to speak out about part of this section in particular, this article, because I think it's an unnecessary function that's only going to add red tape and reduce efficiency, thus negatively impacting y'all's ability to do your work for the student body. And that's the part about the Inspector General. I think personally, seeing SGA over the past 6-7 years, I think SGA is becoming too complicated. I mean, you can even see tonight, y'all have been arguing over Robert's rules, spending more time doing internal things than, helping students overall. So I think y'all are, frankly, I think Senate and SGA in general is not, it's becoming less and less fun and rewarding. Now, yes, advocacy work is hard and rarely easy, but you do need to find some kind of joy in what you're doing. You need to have some level of fun. You have to have some level of meaning while you're doing it, especially since you're doing this for free. So I think there's just too many rules being added and a large focus on organizational or internal actions and legislation. And I honestly think the OIG has the potential to suck more fun and meaning out of being a student advocate. And I do have some experience with this, with the SGA at my previous institution, where there was a watchdog. Now, albeit it was a watchdog group outside of SGA, but it was constantly calling into question everything SGA did. And I can say from experience that when much of what you do is nitpicked, audited all the time, a lot of your time is spent answering questions about and addressing past actions and decisions rather than focusing on current issues affecting students. You're always thinking backwards, never in the moment able to help at the time. So every year, including this one, there have been violations of governing documents, but I don't ever believe that anyone's trying to purposely break the rules or do something that could negatively impact the student body. What I do is student development, and I believe that college should be a time for y'all to make mistakes. Now, not outside the realm of decency and ethics, not purposely, not maliciously or egregiously, but that there should be some level of grace to make honest mistakes from which to learn and grow. Am I saying we should discount the value of ethics or decency? No, but I don't think this is the mechanism needed to enforce ethics or behavior. Am I saying there should be no accountability? No, and especially in the case of purposely malicious or egregious actions that are to the detriment of the organization or student body, there are other processes currently in place that allow SGA to hold itself accountable. To me, having an OIG will focus SGA's attention even more on internal operations, more so than it already does. So finally, while I'm sure there are a few SGAs out there that have an entity like this, although I didn't find many, I think they're few and far between. Even in my past advisor role, that SGA didn't have a function like this, and their SGAs, and just so you know, all SGAs in Florida have a lot of power given to them legally in their state law. Even in Florida, where those SGAs have significantly more power than they do in Texas, they didn't have an entity like this. And I know that that means nothing to you all in practice, but consider how powerful an SGA must be when you have students spending tens of thousands of dollars to run to win SGA president. I'm not kidding. Tens of thousands of dollars on their campaigns. So in closing, I do believe that SGA is important as an organization and it needs to be serious. But I think sometimes it takes itself too seriously, and by trying to add a function like this, and that this impacts retention, recruitment into the organization, and thus an ability to reach even more students. And while I absolutely believe in ethics, accountability, and transparency, I also think much of what's been done legislatively over the past few years has been a knee-jerk reaction to one situation. Is SGA and SGA leadership ever perfect? Not even close. But I don't think having an entity to continuously audit what SGA members are doing is necessary or helpful for the student body when existing processes allow for accountability. Thank you.
All righty. Senator Brown?
So my discussion point is that I honestly do not know what the difference between an inspector general and the ability of the Supreme Court to what the difference of their abilities would be as far as monitoring the Senate, and would appreciate a 30-second brief overview.
All right, Devin?
I can start with a brief overview, but then I've got to do a lengthy response. As far as the Supreme Court, the way that I see it, and I think the way that one could reasonably interpret the Constitution, is that the Supreme Court is a reactive entity. The Advocate General exists to be the legal advisor for the SGA. The Supreme Court is designed to respond to questions that arise from actions taken. In the past, there have been questions raised. I won't speak to the merits of the questions, but there have been questions raised as to the impartiality of the Supreme Court when it comes to their relationship with the executive branch. That's been a focus of most of our hearings regarding the Supreme Court this year as well. And so I think the Senate can recognize the concern. So in terms of the difference between the Inspector General and the Supreme Court, the Inspector General would have a more proactive response to ensuring that negative actions don't happen or are mitigated to the extent possible. And then Supreme Court is a reactive entity that's designed to address the actions once they've occurred. Or once it's been brought to them and the action has been discovered, and that's a whole other issue. So I think that would be my response. I don't know if it fully addresses your question. If not, I can clarify. As far as my response, and anyone who's followed me in SGA for the last 4 years, I highly respect Krista. Krista, and I've told Krista this organization would probably fall apart if Krista were not here helping it. And I have the highest respect. Krista and I have some fundamental differences on the SGA, but we don't let that hinder our respect for each other. In this case, one of the fundamental differences, I consider this to be a democratic body, and I believe democratic bodies should maintain the same high standard of accountability regardless of the level, right? I don't think that the state of Texas should be held to a lower standard of accountability than the federal government just because they're the state government. Now, something that came up in Chris's response was the mechanism, which I understand the argument. I think the current safeguards that address issues of ethicality or respect aren't always effective. It relies on a Senate that might not want to rock the boat or might want to rock the boat too much, depending on whatever vested interest they have. And that's nothing about this Senate. That's every Senate, not only even here, but in every SGA across the country. Each senator and each Senate are going to have different reasons for taking different actions. Because they interact with the executive branch and everyone here is a representative of the student body. Similarly, with the Supreme Court, while it is supposed to be an independent entity, as I mentioned, there have been questions raised about their impartiality, which I fully understand and respect. I'm hoping that through some of the measures we've tried to introduce through precedent, such as disclosures, such as some of the stuff that we've addressed in the constitutional amendments, I'm hoping that we can help to mitigate some of those concerns in the future, but it's also not a steadfast response. There's ultimately going to be some level of that. What's unique about the Inspector General position is there is a different method for nomination. It gives more power to the Senate in the case that the president isn't able to find a nominee within a certain period of time. And the reason for that is because when all else fails, the Inspector General is supposed to be the one that's there to support and assist students when something is not being done that's supposed to. I understand the argument that there is a need for this organization to be fun and enjoyable and fulfilling. I entirely understand that. And I think that's certainly possible. I do think that the standard to which we hold ourselves should not be sacrificed. I think it's possible to do both. And really, the Inspector General doesn't have a lot of teeth. Their job is mostly to inform, is to find and inform. They can't really punish anyone for doing anything. They don't have any kind of that authority. That would ultimately still be up to the Senate. That would ultimately still be up to whoever takes the issue to the Supreme Court. So I do think, I don't see a problem with Krista and I disagreeing. Ultimately, it's up to the Senate to decide who you agree with. And I don't think, I don't think a lot of time, I mean, yes, please discuss to the extent that you feel you should. But ultimately, if you are set in what you believe, you should take an action that you believe best protects and represents your constituency. At the end of the day, I do think this is important. I haven't had as much experience with SGA as Krista has, but in the time that I have been here since 2018, I have seen some things that caused me concern that would have been addressed had there been a third party that people could have reached out to instead of what the current system had. And so that then the Office of the Inspector General would serve that independent third party purpose. And I do believe, should the OIG be struck by the Senate, I do think that the last point is something that needs to stay in the Constitution because the members of the SGA should not have more knowledge on the issue of creating briefs than a regular student. A regular student should be able to seek the same level of recourse through the Supreme Court as an active member of the SGA. While I do believe strongly that the OIG should stay in the Constitution, I would ask that if there is a change made, that the last section remain in some capacity. I know I've been talking a lot. JD, if you'd like me to clarify on my original answer to your question, I can. Oh, and one more thing. I did do a little research on this a while back. I think U of H has a similar office, but it's named differently and it also serves a couple of other different purposes as well. Department of Justice, and then I think there's a specific position in that. I've also always said, just because it doesn't exist somewhere else doesn't mean that you can't be the trailblazer for it. Now, we might disagree on how effective it is or how beneficial it is for the student body, and that's when you need to step in and make that decision. All I'm saying is I don't think that the fact that this hasn't been done shouldn't mean that we should take the leadership to do it. But ultimately, the Senate needs to make that decision, and I see there's hands raised, so I'll go and drop the mic.
Alrighty, so before we move on, points have been made. Make new points. Do not reiterate points. I think that their stances are pretty clear. Only add new points. Don't be saying I agree, whatever. New points. Okay. Senator Johnson.
So I think we've heard both sides of the argument, one from the advisor, one from the president. With that said, I move that we vote on the OIG. What I mean is, like, we've heard from the president who wrote this, and then the advisor.
I think there's still discussion to be made. There's hands to be raised. I think I'm going to move on.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw my motion.
It wasn't seconded, but it's okay. Senator Lee.
Is it in order to defer to Senator Cowell? I think they've had their hand
Sure.
raised longer.
That's totally fine.
My point is that as a commission member, I was never 100% sold on the office of the Inspector General. I understand how it can be beneficial, but after hearing Krista's thoughts and recommendations, I now move to strike any mention of the Inspector General from the document.
Senator M seconds.
Alrighty. So we're striking the office of the Inspector General. I want to give the Senate time. Does anyone object? Do we want to discuss this? Okay. Yes. Go ahead, Senator Banerjee. Okay, do you have a discussion point? Okay. Senator McDowell.
I'll defer to Senator Lee.
Let's use the word yield. Yield the floor. Okay. Go ahead.
I had a question. Do I have to move to a period of questioning?
Sure.
Okay.
Period of
Senator Lee moves to a period of questioning.
Senator M seconds.
All right, we're in a period of questioning. Yes, go ahead.
So my question is for Devin or President Skinner. Something that he brought up was that the Supreme Court has been questioned of being not impartial. And so I'm just wondering how specifically the Office of the Inspector General would counteract that, because to my understanding, both of them are appointed in the same way and that they're appointed by the president. So I don't see how this would take care of that in any way, because it seems like it's the exact same method.
So in the case that the president doesn't make a nomination by a certain time, the Senate can then make a nomination itself, similar to, I think, the Senate officer process. Up until that point, the president can make a nomination in this, and then it's at the Senate's discretion whether or not to accept or reject. Ultimately, there's never going to be a fail-safe option, and I recognize that. I think that this is better than what exists because it is another check. And I'll also note that as most democracies and governing bodies have auditing offices, it's certainly not uncommon beyond the SGA level. And so from the perspective of it being an auditing office, I think it's a more proactive approach to what the Supreme Court is expected to do but can't. In terms of the nomination process, though, it is slightly different in that regard. It does give the Senate more power in the case that the president is slow to respond or there aren't as many applications. And that's not something that exists with the Supreme Court. But I do recognize there's not a fail-safe option. I will make that concession. But
Point of inquiry. Have we already gotten the room approved to be in here past 7:30?
We're here until 9.
Thank you.
Okay.
Quick follow-up question, Mr. Speaker, if I may.
Yes, and then I have to move on.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we go around the room first.
Oh, okay. Do you think that there would be a high interest, considering how long it has taken for us to fill judiciary vacancies?
So,
Quick response, if that's okay.
I think it depends. It depends year to year. As far as this position is concerned, I think if we made decisions on whether or not offices should exist based on that, then we should be removing a lot more than the OIG. I think we should consider the office based on its merits, not on who might be interested. But to answer your question, I do think it varies year to year.
Okay.
Senator McDowell?
I don't know if it's possible for me to address Senator Lee's first question or if that's out of order.
You can go ahead. You're an author.
So the OIG is different than the Supreme Court, primarily in the fact that it's just there to look. So I think this isn't anyone's fault. It's a nature of the executive branch, but traditionally the executive branch has been very opaque. That's the same with all executive branches. Opaque being the opposite of transparent. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I'm not confusing anyone. So traditionally, it's been kind of hard to see into the executive branch and how it operates and if it's operating properly. So if it weren't operating properly, would anyone know? Who would know? Krista would know. But that's it. None of us would know, certainly. And so that's the kind of the way I look at this, is it's a little window into the executive branch for us to make sure that they're not misappropriating funds or, you know, any other numerous things that have happened before. People have misappropriated funds before. So I think, and also they don't have a lot of authority. The Inspector General doesn't have a lot of authority. They are seriously just there to look at what's happening. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think it will add a whole lot of overhead. That's my 2 cents.
All righty. Next question. Senator Johnson.
So what I'm hearing is that the OIG is, if it is created, it's 2 positions. It's hard to get judiciary appointments already. The office, as a commission member once said, it has, it's basically all bark and no teeth kind of thing. They don't have, other than just to point stuff out, which the student body can already do. The Supreme Court is already in charge of making sure that, you know, things are accountable as well as independent. So I guess we're in period of questioning, right?
Yes.
So my question would be, I guess, as a commission member, and I would, is it really even necessary kind of thing? And I would direct that maybe towards Andy a little bit, since he was kind of fighting for it.
So I'm going to interject.
Yeah.
So, and this is something me and Devin discussed. The commission has, majority of y'all have made a decision on something. Y'all both, it's on here. I don't think we should bring up points that were made back then. I think we should make new points that the Senate can be aware of. If we need to go to a period of discussion, I think that's better instead of going back and forth. I just want to make sure the Senate, which was senators that were not present in the commission, understand more context. But I think points should be made then, not bringing up past points, because none of us were there. Senators Voris.
I got it. I move we go to a period of discussion.
Senator Ruiz seconds.
Alrighty, you have your first discussion point.
With that, since, like David said, if you guys have any members about or questions about or points to be made about the Office of the Inspector General, I would like for you guys to raise those points now so any commission member can answer it, because I know I was against this in the commission meeting. We have members like Andy that were for this. So I think that those are all solid arguments that we made during those times, and you know, they need to be addressed now. Let's address them now so that we can move to a vote. This is a big document. We have other articles we have got to get to.
Devin?
Yeah, I want to clarify. The commission did approve this proposal. That being said, this was not a unilateral decision throughout the entire process. I think it is important to note that this proposal did pass 7-0. That said, the votes leading up to that point were not 7-0.
Yes.
So if there are points that you need to make on behalf of your constituency, make them. But I do want to emphasize, because I do think we shouldn't be trying to control what representatives are saying for their constituency. I want points Bree brought up that I might disagree with, but I want to hear them. At the end of the day, just to reiterate, the commission did pass this 7-0 as it was read. But that being said, I don't think that there's any harm in discussion on this. And if the Senate does feel that there needs to be changes, Senate make the changes. I might disagree with them. I mean, I need to make sure that these changes are going to be best for the student body.
Hey, Devin, I'm going to cut you off. We got the point. You want the Senate to make the decision. I'm going to try to speed it up.
Okay.
Yes. Discussion. Devin was bringing up a discussion point. That would be instead what Daniel's saying. Y'all have a Senate, that's your right to discuss however you want this. Basically, he's re-emphasizing that. Senator Ruiz.
I think an important point to make regarding the OIG is that we already have an advisor that is Krista, that is already an established authority figure. If we create an OIG, that's essentially, I think, in the future, creating more turmoil within Senate itself, because now you're feeling like you have to walk on eggshells, be a certain way around certain people, carry a certain face around certain people, put on a mask, and so on and so forth, when we already are being monitored intently, not only by the judicial branch, but also by our advisor herself. So I think that that's a point that I don't think anyone's brought up yet. And it should be, I don't know. I feel like we're all kind of within a mutual consensus, but not really. But I feel like everyone's already had a solidified opinion on what they want regarding OIG. So that's all I'm going to say. Like, if no one has any more questions, I think we should just move on or discuss
Senator
points.
M.
I think at this point, there's one side is saying it is a point. The other side is just basically saying it is unnecessary and adds too much complication. So I think we're all have the sides. Anything else would be just like to the what we already said, but that's kind of like general consensus of what we both sides. So I think I move that we go to a period of voting.
On the striking out. Okay.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Senator Brown seconds.
Yes. Point of information.
I'm trying to understand what point and subpoint mean, like the implications of it. So
Yes.
can I ask that as point of information?
Of course. What specifically do you have?
So point,
hopefully I can navigate this
point
for.
F and its point subpoint A.
Yes. So
so
this portion.
Yeah, so the volunteer staff, is it just to the discretion of the inspector general how many people they want to have, and then the duties they delegate to them, as well as is this essentially saying that they can remove them at will, but is it only if they violate something in SGA governing documents, or is it just at the will of the inspector general? So both of those are my clarifying questions.
Andy?
Okay, that was a lot of questions, but I'm going to try to answer them if I can. Let me know if I leave anything out. So this is a type of clause that's in the Constitution a couple times. The idea is that if the Inspector General wants help, they can get help. The same thing for the Communications Director, the same thing for the Advocate General, I believe. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. Maybe the Election Commissioner has that power. I don't remember. But the idea is that they can have people they work with if they want. Remove volunteer staff at will within the requirements of the SGA governing documents. Basically, they can pick who they want and they can remove who they want. And within the requirements of the SGA governing documents just says if the governing documents regulate that process, then they have to adhere to that regulation. So the regulation I think of off the top of my head is that the Senate is allowed to remove any executive or judicial members, I think, and so they would have to adhere to that. So if the Senate voted to remove one of their volunteers, then they would have to adhere to that. Does that kind of make sense?
What if the inspector general wants to remove someone, but the SGA wants them to, or the Senate wants them to still be there?
I think the Office of the Inspector General makes that request to the Senate, and the Senate make the decision. Am I mistaken? If not, Devin, you can clarify.
So under the current structure, the way that it reads, and this is similar to what it is currently like with executive staff or the judicial branch. Someone could make it doesn't necessarily have to be a senator making the recommendation. I could make a recommendation to the Senate, and then the Senate would just decide if that person needs to be removed. Ultimately, it's in the hands of the Senate to make that decision. The Senate can do it unilaterally based on the way that the language reads, but someone else can also recommend it, and then the Senate could discuss it. I don't know if that clarifies, but that would be the process for those positions.
Does that answer clarification points for you, Senator Banerjee?
Do this. But I feel like one of my questions, just one, that did definitely clarify some of it. Thank you. But one of them was specifically about the volunteer staff that the inspector general elects or includes in their auditing their work. Those staff members can be dismissed at the discretion of the inspector general, just at will, because there's nothing else in the document
Yes.
that reference it, right? Yeah, okay, that was my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Senator Baker.
Thank you. Given the amount of time that we've spent on the subject, I wonder if a fair compromise might be to amend the document
Point of
to
order.
add this as a provincial.
There's a point of order made. Senator Baker, sorry to interrupt.
Are we not supposed to go back to voting on
Yes.
Luke's movement?
Yes. So
I apologize. I was lost on what we were talking about, I guess.
So let's give a little bit more context. I want to make sure we're clear on this. So it was moved and seconded that we vote on to strike out the Office of the Inspector General from the Constitution. All right, we're going back to that. So we can do a raise of hands. All those in favor that want to remove the Office of the Inspector General from the Constitution, raise your hand at this time. All righty. Any of those that oppose? I believe we have a 2/3 threshold. Only 2 senators objected. So the strikeout passes.
Point of information.
Yes.
This means that we're going to have to make some grammatical amendments to the other sections of the document where the Inspector General is mentioned.
That is correct.
Another point of information, I believe it was 3 senators who objected.
That was 3, sorry. Thank you.
So I hate to do this, but with that, should we move to a 5-minute period of recess so those corrections can be made?
We can do that, or someone can help me out with that, and we can continue with the meeting.
Oh, then never mind. Let's do the second one.
So, JD, thank you. All righty. So, as that's being made, that means. Sure. Sure. No, that's totally fine. Sorry, Senator Brown. Huh? Okay, but my only concern is, will that be an issue with moving forward and having it on the screen? Okay. If no one objects, Devin, you're recognized.
Just a quick note. The only thing I would mention, because this is not necessarily about the accountability aspect of the office, just wanted to reiterate that last point was to assist students to write briefs, because students don't currently have the there's a lot of students who aren't as familiar with SGA or its processes. I think having something in the Constitution that helps students go through that process from an entity that would not have a vested interest in that case is very important to give, not to give, but to ensure the rights of students to pursue that recourse should they feel it's necessary. Because right now there's a lot of students who don't know how to go about that. And just to make sure that, and that person would also be an expert on that process as well. So just wanted to throw that out there. Ultimately, the Senate struck all parts of the OIG. So they would need to add that if they feel it's necessary, but I just wanted to mention that because I do feel it's necessary.
Okay. Alrighty. So any other discussion points for the judicial branch? I do want to express that when we have discussion points, it is going to be, everyone's going to be passionate. So I appreciate the Senate's patience on this. And we'll move on. So if there's not any more, the election board. Do we have any questions about the election board? And this is a new article in the Constitution. I can give a brief synopsis if that's necessary. We good? Any discussion points? Essentially, name and independence, oversees and conducts all SGA elections, independent from all three branches. Alrighty. If there's no discussion points, I will move on. Fiscal matters. So we changed section 1 to student service fees, then we added new section that has Eagles Nest and travel grant. Any questions about that? I believe Article 8 amendments to this Constitution. I believe we amended. Actually, no, we didn't. Did we? Yes, the grammatical errors that was addressed. Any questions? Any discussion points? If not, I will move on. Last article. Yes. Oh, was fast. Okay. Period. Okay. Garner Plot Center McDowell. Okay. Legality. Do we have any questions on that? So now we make the Constitution actually binding between SGA and the undergraduate student body. And of course, we added policies that prevent hazing, participating in hazing, all the other stuff, and makes advisors separate. Any questions? No? Okay. Sorry, I like to sit down. No, it's mine. Actually? No, that's yours. Yeah, we're on over mine. Alrighty. Now we'll go to, oh, sorry. Yes, yes.
Just a quick syntax thing. In the first subsection A, it says 2/3 absolute majority, and then in E, it says absolute 2/3 approval.
2/3.
So just which is it? Is it 2/3 absolute or absolute 2/3?
I believe it
I
should.
know it's a small thing, but
So you're asking, should one come first than the other?
well, I'm saying it's written inconsistently between A and E.
Senator McDowell?
I might suggest that we choose one and then have David look through the entire document and change it later. So how do you guys feel about the one in subsection A? Does that look good? Okay, so I move that the speaker updates all of that kind of stuff to that format, which can be done after the meeting.
Okay. Is there a second? Devin,
Senator Baker seconds.
I just wanted to point out, according to the third motion, or the second motion for this legislation, David has the ability to make these amendments before the approval. Once the Senate votes on the legislation, they voted on it. So I'm just mentioning in accordance with that second motion, written motion, David does have that ability to make those changes before y'all approve it.
Awesome. Yay. Senator McDowell?
I'd like to amend the motion so that you do it before we do a final vote on the legislation.
Is there a second?
Senator Lee seconds.
So you want me to change the document
Well,
before
may I nominate Senator Brown to do it for you?
Devin?
My recommendation was going to be that once everything's been discussed and we've found maybe other grammatical problems so that we're not having to keep making fixes, at the very end, once we're ready to get to a vote, we consider maybe a recess so that those changes can be made so that we're not doing this over and over again if there are situations like that as we continue. That's my recommendation. Y'all can do what you want. I'm just trying to consolidate and speed up the process.
That's what I meant.
Okay. I'm going to continue and then we'll do that.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Senator Baker has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Senator Baker. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is a parliamentary question.
Yes.
Are we able to can we move to approve a document contingent upon changes being made? So can we just not worry about all the changes tonight, like actually making them, but move to approve them?
Senator McDowell?
I can't think of a reason not to do that, but I highly suggest we don't do that.
Thank you.
I mean, one thing that I can suggest is if we did decide to go with Senator Baker's recommendation, I can make sure it's disseminated for y'all and we can meet next week and we can be like, yes, looks good. Or we can have a special session called, be quick to do that. Presenting options, Devin.
I would recommend business getting done today, especially since there's not much of a buffer before the referendum deadline. And just to avoid time being taken out of normal schedules, because I know midterms are also around the corner. So
okay,
just offering that as a recommendation.
All righty. We'll move on to talk about Senate. That's the last thing on our thing. I'm going to do it by section. Okay, let me just do okay. Any issues with section 1? Discussion? Nope. Okay. Section 2 of the Senate. Senator Johnson?
So parliamentary inquiry, if we want to make about this section, do I have to go to a discussion first? Like move to go to discussion?
So
are we still in that?
So this is how I'm going to do Article 3, legislative branch. Discussion points are going to be by section. So I'm going down each section. There's no discussion points for Article 1. We move on. Now we're to Article 2. Do you have a discussion point?
So my point is for Section 2, subsection D, items A and B, I guess D altogether kind of thing. Y'all, class is really going to be hurt by that. And I understand that, we want to be proportionate to everybody. But that's kind of my point is it really necessary? I know I can't go back to the commission. So I just want to hear what the Senate kind of has to say about the point of it being necessary from going from, I know, the 11% thing, if everyone's okay with that kind of thing.
Senator Garcia?
Testing. Cool. I agree with that notion. This is going to hurt class. The whole point of the student body of the SGA is to represent the student population. My assumption is that this was all an effort to kind of make this more like the US Senate, assigning 2 seats, also with the assumption that if class were given more seats than any other college, then we would band up together, or make some sort of cult, or whatever was going through the heads at that time. That being said, we act more like a representative chamber, more like the House of Representatives, or at least we should act, than the actual Senate. We need to have an apportioned number of seats that it represents the population of our college. Class is by far the biggest college at UNT. Reducing our number from 11 to 4 not only already discourages people who wanted to be an SGA, discourages them even further, but it simply makes our chamber too small. It is, I think the point I'm trying to make is that we are way too big to be lowered to such a number, and that I just, in my opinion, don't think that the seats should be changed at all. While the argument is to promote competition, this in fact just discourages people from running for SGA at all. And the argument also being that this would create a finer or more intelligent group of senators. Really what's going to happen is that we're going to have a limited number of representatives, and we're simply not going to have enough bandwidth to cover all the needs of the students that are in the student body. So yeah, I yield my time. Thank you.
Senator Ruiz.
I agree with the sentiments of my previous fellow two senators. I also wanted to bring forth the point that UNT population is rapidly growing. We have admitted more students within the past 2 years collectively, and in recent coming years, I expect that number to also increase. I understand that from the president, or whenever this was created and this was written, this was for the perspective that it gives more fairness, but I honestly think that that's kind of ironic in a sense that it doesn't. I think it should be mentioned that I believe that it was also written into the revision of the Constitution that these seats will now, for more seats are up for grabs if there's underrepresentation, it's just going to create more competitiveness where it doesn't need to. I mean, like previously mentioned, class is the biggest college, and yes, while there are a lot of political science majors who usually occupy those seats, that's not fair to the upcoming students who do not fall under those highly represented majors, whereas they could be underrepresented majors like dance or women and gender studies. I think that I understand the sentiment that this was initially trying to invoke, but I honestly think that this is it's just going to hurt class specifically, and honestly all colleges, because now they're going to have to up their work. So I yield my time.
Okay, Senator von Boris, go ahead.
I understand your concerns. This was definitely an argument that was had multiple days, multiple meetings in the commission. However, and if we can, I'd like to pull up the visual again of seat apportionment, because class will still have 4 seats. That's the largest amount of seats that a college can have, as well as we have, I believe, 5 at-large seats. So if all 4 of those class seats get filled, and we have other people that want to apply and represent the university as a whole, they can do so through those at-large seats. There are multiple positions that people can hold in SGA. No one is being limited here. And if you're afraid of competitiveness because you think you're going to lose your seat by not doing much, then you better get on as a class senator, because we want people that are representing class and doing for class. Thank you.
Senator Lee, go ahead. Oh, okay. Senator Cowell, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So from my perspective as the one senator for the College of Music, I'm definitely drowning in things. I have nobody in my college to work with, nobody I can run point on to coordinate things. It's all on my shoulders, and honestly, it's a lot. So my ideal is that every college would have 2 senators, would be limited to that. Obviously, that is not good for class because there's such a high population, and I definitely understand that. And I think Sophia brought up a lot of good points, but I just want everyone to be aware that we are not taking away seats. We actually added seats. There are more seats for student senators with the commission's suggestions than there were previously. And I mean, Sophia used to be the senator for the College of Music, and there was nobody in that seat at the time. And if you want to be a senator, all 5 at-large seats are full, and all 4 class seats are full, and you're from class, then look into representing underrepresented college. I think that's a great opportunity. And so a lot of labor and love went into this compromise. Thank you, Casey. So I think you guys should really consider that. Also consider how many class senators we started off the school year with.
Senator Lee, go ahead.
Kind of going off of what Paige said, I think something we should all consider. Half of the people who are in Senate right now were not here at the beginning of the year. Nothing against the appointment process. I came in as like a write-on or whatever, but just to keep in mind that for a majority of last semester, most of the Senate was underfilled. And so I think people worrying about, oh, how many people actually go through the process of running throughout the year, I really don't think it's going to be that much of an issue of like we're underrepresenting. And then also something else to consider, I guess specifically for class senators, since it seems to pertain to y'all the most. Again, I'm super excited about it because my college is tiny also. How much of your legislation, I guess it's kind of a question, also something, how much of your legislation actually is related to class things? I know there's things you're talking to constituents, might be your friends, students, but how much of your legislation is specifically for class, specifically relating to that? So I think, again, a lot of the issues that we're bringing up is more just representing students, representing our friends in general, rather than specific for our college. And so running for other positions, running for the at-large seats, it's not going to impact your ability because most of the legislation we're not putting forward is specifically for colleges.
Okay. Senator Garcia, go ahead.
Hello. Let me just draw out a couple examples out here. For instance, if I recall correctly, Grant placed 5th in his election results. With that in mind, Grant would not be a senator currently. All of the legislation, we all love Grant, or maybe not, I don't know. But that being said, I'm kidding. I love you, Grant. I love you. Okay. Anyways, a lot of opportunities could have been missed without a senator like Grant. Now that is just a personal example. Another example of this is elections as a whole, we need to acknowledge, are more just a popularity contest than something that is actually effective in representing the student body. The people that are the best at social media, the most handsy with all of that, the people that have the best personality, the people who, et cetera, get the most votes, people with the best networking. And oftentimes, candidates are overlooked just because they don't have such a large social media presence beforehand, just because they are introverts, just because they have a fear of kind of reaching out, but they feel like this position here can give them finally that access and that platform to best advocate for their student body. That being said, this creates competition where it's not needed, just like Senator Ruiz said. Class is, again, the biggest and most diverse college here at UNT. Reducing that number.
Point of order, this is no longer a new discussion point.
Yeah, I would agree. Would anybody like to recognize David to speak?
Senator Shiloh recognizes
Senator
David to
seconds.
speak.
Alrighty, so I was planning not to talk about this, but now since it's an issue, for a discussion point, this is my stance on this. Since I'm a class major myself, political science, we should not be basing our seat change based on just class. We have more than just one college. I'm gonna make that very clear. We talk about inclusivity. We talk about a lot of things. Y'all get 4 seats with this compromise. I'm on board with this compromise, even though I think the original plan was 2 across the board. Y'all have 4 compared to 2. That's saying a lot. I think retention is a big issue in Senate. Yes, we do get a lot of people involved in class. I totally hear that, but you're still having representation. Second thing, a lot of y'all sway the Senate. Y'all are 11 senators, 10 right now, out of 21. Y'all are the majority. I don't think that's fair for other colleges, like the College of Engineering, the College of Information, the College of Music, New College, to compete with class, because there's issues at other campuses as well. And in the past, we have not had a New College senator. We have not had College of Music in a while, engineering. And without having those people there, then it's the majority of people representing their college that are going to represent the interest, which is currently class. So I do not like that people from class are saying, what about me? What about me? Yes, we're here for the student body. And yes, your job is to represent your constituents, but it should not be based on, oh my God, we got cut. It should be based on your ideas, which some people have mentioned already. So I think y'all need to make a decision about how you want Senate to look like in the future. But if it's just based on, oh my God, I have less seats, that is saying something about y'all, and instead of how y'all should work as a collective body. So I think some things to think about. I think I understand smaller colleges should have 2 seats. It's a lot. It's a lot for just one person. I definitely agree with that. But if we're saying, oh my God, now we have less things, then that I'm just disappointed. That's all I'm going to say.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. I'd
Yeah.
like to remind the Senate and the audience to maintain civility throughout this process. I think it's important that we treat each other with respect. Thank you, Madam.
Would anybody like to recognize Casey?
Senator Shiloh recognizes Casey to speak.
Anybody second?
Senator Lee seconds.
Go ahead, Casey.
Hello, everyone. I think we're having a great night tonight. But I would like to speak on this specifically, how this came about. Originally within the commission, the original proposal was just having 2 seats for every college, and that was it. We thought it would be, originally I thought it would be best if there was 2 seats for every college. And then I was able to talk with, class senators as well as senators outside of that. We came to the compromise of flexing the seats. So when you breach the 11% threshold, you get 4 seats. Bigger colleges do need more representation, and that was the idea with adding 2 additional Senate seats, as well as adding the 5 at-large seats that people can also go for. The way I see this is the proposal wasn't about reducing representation for other colleges and increasing it for others. It was about effective and efficient representation for students. Issues that I've had when I was in the Senate, for class specifically, I had people come up to me asking, who's my class senator? Well, you have 8. The idea is that they can work as a team with 4. They can work together. They can collaborate within issues within their organization, within their specific college. When you have 11, are all 11 going to meet with the dean at once? Are 2 going to meet at once? Are 4 going to meet another day? It centralizes who's my representative. It allows for the chance for you to know, these are my 2 representatives, or these are my 4. No, are these my 11? As well as it just opens up an opportunity for smaller colleges for representation. So the idea wasn't about reducing seats for colleges or increasing it for others. It was about effective and efficient representation for the entire student body. And I'll let y'all talk that out.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, I just wanted to make a note. Please be as succinct as possible. I know we're in some ways trying to convince each other of things, but please don't repeat yourself. Okay, with that said, Senator Cowell, go ahead.
I wanted to address some of the points of elections being popularity contests and stuff that you mentioned. Yeah, that's what all elections are. And also, if a senator is elected because they're super popular and good with social media or whatever, they get into office and they do nothing, they neglect their office, that's grounds for removal. And that seat can open up and somebody can be appointed who will actually do that's how the process works. And so I don't think that is a concern that should stop you from supporting a more balanced representation for the Senate. That's it.
Yes, go ahead.
So I have a question, but it's relates to my point if it's correct. How, like, if we were to pass this vote, how many of us need to vote yes to it? Oh, I'm going to question. How many of us have to say no for this to fail?
I will defer to Senator McDowell for this.
Can I answer that question after I've had a little bit of time?
All right, sure thing, and then I'll finish my point after this.
Information.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we have 21 senators, it's 13 point something is an absolute 2/3 majority.
So likely the answer is going to be in the area of 7 people have to say no to fail it.
So how many senators are in class right now who are against it? They could immediately shut it down, while every other senator outside of class could say yes. That's my discussion point.
Okay, guys, let's stop. That was kind of fun. I would encourage you guys to make a motion at some point because I think we just believe what we believe. Okay, with that said, go ahead, Senator Brown.
I feel like we all kind of know where we stand at this point, and most of the major discussion points have been made without getting repetitive. Therefore, I move to vote on the document as amended. This is the last section. If we approve it, then it approves the document. Is that not correct?
I'm sorry.
A point of order.
Yes.
Because if we do that motion and then it fails because people don't like this, it would reject the entire document. Right?
I amend my
Yes,
motion
correct.
to approve this section.
If I can just, I'm sorry.
Okay, can somebody recognize Devin?
Senator Sadler recognizes Devin to speak.
Senator
Second.
Allen seconds.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify, this is procedural, this isn't about the content. My understanding, and Andy, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it thoroughly enough to correct me or follow up. My understanding is amending the legislation, not necessarily voting on the legislation, just amending the legislation is a simple 2/3 majority, so it wouldn't be based on it would be, I think, because I don't think we have 21, so it'd be based on whoever's here, and I guess Gracie would have that number. And then if it was an absolute 2/3 majority, it'd be 8 because 14 is what you would need. So 7. Yeah. Anyways, no, 7. Anyways, forget it. All I'm saying is simple 2/3 majority, I believe, is correct. Andy, if you want to correct me, you can. I just want to throw that out there before y'all go to a vote.
Yes, thank you. That is helpful. And yes, Senator McDowell.
My understanding is a proposal to an amendment requires an absolute 2/3. I'm kind of cut off guard, guys. That's why I'm kind of bouncing around, but that's my understanding. Yeah, that's what it says here. So it would be an absolute 2/3 majority vote.
Okay, again, for motion on the table. Do you
Point
stand
of
by
order,
your
has
motion?
anybody seconded my motion?
Yeah, has anyone seconded?
Senator
Senator
Baker
Brown.
seconds the motion to approve this section of the document.
Point of
Okay,
information.
yes.
Do we still have? Are we supposed to be going by section and amending it? I thought we were supposed to wait until the end after we covered everything, then go back.
Well, I think it depends on how you guys would like to approach it, but you can go section by section. I think we're doing it to break it down. Senator McDowell might have a more official answer.
So this is the way I suggest we do it is, and this is kind of the way David's been doing it, is going section by section and making sure we don't have any problems with each section as we go down. So the preferred motion, which is the one I believe Senator Brown made, would be to approve this section and then answer the question we all have, which is how are we going to apportion seats? and then move on after that question's answered is the preferred way to do it. That's how I would prefer to do it, is to go section by section so we don't, you know, lose sight of points because we're looking at the whole thing all at once.
Three.
So,
Okay, with that said, we have a motion on the table. So everybody who, okay, can someone recognize David to speak?
Senator Lee recognizes David.
Senator Ruiz
Powell
seconds.
Don't we?
So,
Okay, point of clarification.
yes.
Or point of information. If we have a motion on the table, do we have to go to that, or can we choose to recognize a speaker? Senator McDowell.
I could be wrong, but this is how we've been doing it. My understanding is that recognizing someone from the audience is a special type of point of privilege and therefore in order whenever anything happens.
Senator seconds. So I know I'm not presiding. I just wanted to say, sorry, I got a little heated. I'm very passionate about things, so do not take it to heart. It's just, besides that, I think it was informed to me, Senator Quimatoro, he did not get an email, but he said he resigned effective immediately. So based on that account, currently we have total membership of 20 senators, which changes the absolute 2/3 threshold to approve this. So now I believe we will have
Point of order, or point of information. 2/3 of 20 is still 13.2.
originally it was 21, it would have been 14.
It was
But
13.
now it's 13.
15 or 13.
Okay, 14. Okay, it's still 14.
Okay,
I'm just
guys,
letting
let's
you know.
stop.
Okay.
Okay,
Vote.
so we now have a motion on the table. So are we, let's do a show of hands.
Point of order, may I request that we do roll call vote?
Okay,
Is that
roll call vote?
I second. Request.
So, okay. Roll call vote will
Point
begin
of inquiry.
momentarily.
This is
What?
for amending this section, right?
Yes,
This section.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, just this section.
Point of order, can we clarify
Section
what
2.
amendment we're making one more time?
Yes, of course. So section 2 here under Article 3 is what we're looking at.
Thank you.
Just that one, not section 3 that also falls under Article 3, just section 2. Yeah, okay, so what I have highlighted here is all that we're looking at. Let me know if you have any other questions.
I'm going to preside so Saloni can vote. Okay. Sorry, there's a lot of things happening at the moment. So, so Secretary Schulte, go ahead.
Senator Shiloh,
Aye.
Senator Brown,
Aye.
Senator McDowell,
Aye.
Senator Allen,
Aye.
Senator Lee,
Aye.
Senator Banerjee,
Aye.
Senator Castellanos,
No.
Senator Garcia,
No.
Senator Gillis,
Aye.
Senator Guevara,
Aye.
Senator Johnson,
No.
Senator McFarland,
Aye.
Senator Ruiz,
Aye.
Senator Vovoris,
Aye.
Senator M,
Aye.
Senator Cowell,
Aye.
Senator Baker,
Aye.
Senator Ihumiramadou,
Aye.
Senator Schulte, aye. Senator Taylor, yeah, sorry. There's
Aye.
so many names. Okay, awesome.
Alrighty, it's amended. Awesome. Wait, it stays the same. Okay, so the motion passes. It does not change. Okay. Alrighty. Let's move on. Appointments. Any question, discussion points? Alrighty. Good. Generally, if you have it, I recommend doing it now because once it passes, okay. No, I got you. I got you. Okay. Questions, discussion points, going once. Yes, winner.
I kind of have a question about this.
Sure.
Since each what does it mean by schools? I know that we have defined colleges. We haven't defined
Mayborn.
anything about schools, have we?
Mayborn.
Oh, Mayborn. Okay.
Mhm.
And then academies would be
TAMS.
Okay. And then under subsection,
Item I.
yeah, item I, it says less than half. Less than half would just be no seats.
Yeah, so
No, one would be half. So to have less than half would be no seats. Oh, class does have 4. Okay, never mind. I apologize.
okay, good. Any questions? Going once, twice, sold. Alrighty. There's no changes to elections. Good on that. All right, nope. All right, section 5, meetings. Biweekly. Actually, was this supposed to be read? Yes, yes, okay. That was weird. Section 6, any questions, discussion points? We're good. Office of the Senate. We're good. Duties and powers of the Student Senate. Discussion points, questions, amendments. Going once, going twice. Summer Senate. Alrighty. And then Sloan, you're gonna have to present over again for section 9. I do have 1 point to raise. I'm gonna go to the back now.
Okay, would anyone like to recognize David to speak?
Senator Allen, seconds.
Go ahead, David.
I'm gonna try to speak in a very ASMR voice. Okay. So I have a discussion point to be made. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was like, okay. Section 9, subsection B, in terms of the Speaker's Senate, because currently the Speaker of the Senate can unilaterally remove senators based on the clauses that the Constitution prescribes. I disagree with adding a simple majority vote by the Student Senate, and here's why. I'm not going to go into too details because it's personnel matters, and we'll discuss it next week. But I want Senate to be a positive, collaborative place. I think that's something that I've been very adamant about. I want y'all to discuss, be able to make your points freely, but with multiple senators reaching out to me and just describing how the Senate as a whole communicates, I, in good conscience, cannot. If senators are causing issues, I'm not saying y'all are malicious or anything or saying anything about now. I'm throwing a hypothetical. Let's say a future Senate, there is a big chunk that is very awful, disrespectful, and is really making it so hard for other senators who their jobs and affecting their mental health to the point that it causes them great stress and whatever, I would not be able to remove them on any of those portions, so grounds of neglect of office, absences, moral turpitude, can't pronounce, there's something about duty, dereliction of duty, and gross malfeasance of office. Without that majority of group causing the issue, I wouldn't be able to. That means I would be put in a place that would really make me a bystander. And I hope Senate doesn't get to a place where it's so toxic that someone hurts themselves. But I do fear that at times y'all cannot, let me rephrase, at times that things can get out of hand. And y'all forget to remember that we're also students and we also are human beings. Sometimes we can cross the line and be very disrespectful. And we don't see what our consequences of our own actions affect other people. So I'm recommending, because I don't, well, but before I do that, plus, I don't think there's been a vice president that's been so malicious to remove people just because. If that happened, I would encourage the Senate to remove that person. I think when it comes to removing someone from Senate, you can't just be like, yeah, remove them. You have to think everything through. So with that, I recommend the Senate remove the strikeout with a simple majority vote by the student Senate when it comes to discipline for senators. That's all.
Point of information, could you
Yes.
rephrase what you just said?
Yes.
That last
I
sentence?
also was about to say the same
Oh,
thing.
sorry. I'm saying that
This part?
I'm recommending to the Senate to amend the document to remove the addition that says with a simple majority vote by the student Senate. But that you cannot change the document. The senator would have to amend the document.
Right.
But I'm just throwing the discussion point out there. I'm just speaking on myself and the future of Senate, because I do not want retention to be a continuous problem.
Okay, and to clarify, do you have a substitute or addition
I
that you would
do
like to recommend?
not.
Okay.
But
that
is just my discussion
I
point.
wish I saw whose hand went up first. Do you guys know? Okay, Senator Allen, go ahead.
Okay. Are we in a period of discussion right now, or? Yes.
Yeah, essentially we're reviewing the document.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with David with how this is. If we, like David said, if we needed to
Point of
remove-
order, this is not a new discussion point.
Oh, sorry, I was
This is an
gonna add-
agreement.
Yeah, but I was gonna wait to see what they are going to add to that.
I was gonna say
Which
with removing
seems
this,
like they did.
there is still the check. Like if something, like let's say the vice president was malicious, the person who's been removed can appeal to the judicial branch, and so there is a check for this if something happens. So we don't really need to have the simple majority vote by the student senate.
Okay, thank you. Do you guys know who was next with their hand up? Okay, Senator Cowell, go ahead.
I guess it's technically a question for whoever knows the answer. If somebody is removed and they appeal it to the judicial branch and the appeal is approved, do they take back their seat? Do they resume office?
That is a great question. Senator McDowell, go ahead.
I don't think it's ever been tested, but that would be my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Senator Brown.
I move to amend section 9, subsection B, to strike the highlighted addition, the first highlighted addition.
Senator Gillis seconds.
Okay. Let me just find the room. Or is that making it confusing? I'll just leave it like that. Okay, any other amendments or motions? Senator McDowell.
Yeah, this is just a discussion point on the amendment. I don't think I'd want any one person to decide what dereliction of duty, gross malfeasance of office, or moral turpitude is. I would like a group of people to decide that. in the democratic way that we're all used to. We have processes for code of conduct issues. Not only that, but if it's getting as bad as it has, if it did get as bad as it's suggested that it could get, then in that case, I would expect that it would be elevated to the UNT code of conduct, which is kind of out of our hands. And so if it's elevated to that level, it should be elevated appropriately. Which my understanding is any paid member of the SGA is a, what is that called? A mandatory reporter anyways. So I don't see the need to strike this. Personally, I think it's a little anti-democratic. I wouldn't want any one person deciding anyone's fate like that. My definition of moral turpitude could be different from, someone else's, which is different from someone else's. And I think we should decide what moral turpitude, dereliction of duty, and gross malfeasance of office means together, not as any one individual.
Okay, Senator Cowell, go ahead.
In a utopia, there would be a group of people not related to the issue who would have a ruling on a situation like this. And luckily, we have the judicial branch, who in this case would have the authority to do that if whoever was removed from their seat wanted to appeal and have the definition that the speaker had of the reasons why they removed that person from the seat. That will be decided by the judicial branch. So I think at the end of the day, how it originally is without the addition is already doing what we want it to do.
Okay, Senator Brown, go ahead.
My discussion point is disguised in a question.
I don't think you're supposed to say that.
I wonder if, okay, my question is disguised in a discussion point. I wonder if Senator McDowell would be more amenable to something along the lines of with approval of 2/3 of Senate officers.
Okay,
And
well,
if that would appease the vice president a little bit as well.
while I ponder that, will someone recognize David to speak?
Senator Shiloh recognizes David.
Senator Lee seconds.
Go ahead, David.
I think I'm going to address 2 points. One earlier about reporting to the dean of students. I think there's instances where I would hope the vice president has good people skills that can de-escalate things and prevent things from getting out of hand. I think that's actions that the vice president can do to avoid removing anyone. And hopefully I will do that next week, but that's personal matters. At the same time, the student body elected me as the Speaker of the Senate to manage the business of the Senate and to oversee the function of the Senate. That is one responsibility that the student body as a whole has done. So just to keep that in mind for senators deciding this. I think the second point was what if officers should be included in this. I did think about that, but at the same time, what if officers, I'm not saying currently are complicit or let things happen to not displease majority of the Senate, because then what if the majority of the Senate removes that person from that position? There's things that can happen. Or what if there's personal relationships, like they're best friends and they don't want to piss someone off? So I still stand with, I think it should be the Speaker of the Senate. I think the Senate, and again, points have made, if vice president's out of line and is like, whatever, the judicial branch can overrule that. And the Senate can hold the vice president accountable and remove that person if that's occurring. But that is my personal stance on the matter. I want to make sure that I'm protecting the Senate and protecting senators that are there in good faith. Because Senate should be a place that's collaborative. That should be a place that we're putting the student body first, and not getting in the way of of that otherwise. But that's just my personal thoughts on the matter.
Okay, thank you. And I know this is arguably our most important document as SGA, but I would like to remind you guys it's 8:36. So unless you have a very pertinent point of discussion, I would just suggest, I'm not directing you, but I would just suggest to think about whether or not it is redundant. Okay, Senator Brown, go ahead.
Senator Brown yields the floor to Senator Lee.
Oh. I'm sorry, Senator Lee.
It's okay. I kept going up and down because my hand was getting tired. A couple things. Sorry. Every time someone else speaks, my mind goes blank. So I think David brought up a great point that we're going back and forth with a lot of hypotheticals. Like, well, what if the speaker is malicious? What if the senators are malicious? But as David pointed out, the speaker is elected and has that kind of conviction from the student body. But I would argue that we also, as senators, have that same conviction. We're elected by the student body with our duty of, getting along with each other and doing stuff. So I think this whole like checks and balances back and forth is kind of redundant. But also it's a question for David or whoever, but kind of a clarification. So in the grounds of that the Speaker of the Senate removes stuff, would that also include like, say, someone doesn't meet the office hours requirement and so it's just a peaceful like, hey, you're not fulfilling your duty? Is that's something that you would consider like we just want the Speaker to handle that instead of calling them out in front of everyone, right?
So currently the code of conduct states that so currently if you're having issues with tabling office hours, please communicate that with me. I'm not here to be breathing down your neck. If there's issues and you're having things, please talk to me. I can accommodate. That's why we excuse absence. We're not communicating with me.
Point of privilege, David has cut out for the meeting.
Hey Nick, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Andy.
Oh, wow. Okay, it looks like he's disconnected from the meeting. So we're gonna try to get that fixed.
Don't feel like you have to stop discussion on my point.
It's recorded, so we can.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Do I need to repeat my point?
Yes.
I don't know what we're talking about. I got distracted.
I think I got the gist of it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, you sound great now.
Awesome.
Okay,
Sorry
perfect.
about that,
No
Nick.
worries. Thanks for
We
getting
have
that sorted
tech-
out. I can hear Mr. McDowell.
Okay. Oh, maybe there won't be feedback. Nick,
Mute the one up front. Have David mute real quick. Okay, so now if you talk, Andy, you should be okay.
Testing feedback, testing feedback.
Okay.
It's on.
Hello. Here we go.
Hello?
Okay.
Cool.
Sorry, Senator Baker. We were voting, and we wanted to know your votes on. Do you vote to strike out with a simple majority by the student senate?
That would be an aye.
Okay, so another in the affirmative, so it is passed. Awesome. Senator Brown?
Senator Brown moves to section 9.
I mean, does anyone object? Or is someone second that first? Senator Lee seconded. Awesome. Anyone object to section 9? Awesome. So we went over the whole document in its entirety. We want to commend the Senate for being patient. Again, very high emotions are involved. I completely get it. I know we're. Is there any motions on the floor regarding Senator M? I move to go to period vote. Senator Johnson seconds. Okay, wow, we're excited. We love that. Anyone object?
Point of order.
Senator Brown, guess what you have to do?
Also, point of order as well. Who are we counting?
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
I move recess until the edits are made.
I'm gonna stop for that. Okay, so, you can do that if someone, can someone say to table this for, after we consider S 2022 R4?
Senator Johnson. Table this. S. R4.
That's like
Okay, yeah.
Okay, y'all.
I have.
Yes.
Would it be in order for us to, and
We have, here's why I'm recommending. That would still on the agenda, and I want to make sure since we have time, that's an option that I want to give the Senate. Y'all can determine what you want to consider, but that's still under unfinished business. And I want to give the authors the ability, but again, it's what the Senate wants. Y'all can move that. Senator Johnson.
I have a point.
Yes.
Just for the record, for teams, seconded M's think. Three of them said it at once.
It was Senator Johnson.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys, let's turn it down. We have 10 minutes left. So you move to table, after the consideration of S 2022 R, or was there a second?
Senator Ruiz second.
All right, does anyone object? Okay, we're now discussing, R. It was, you can talk. So I don't have the document on. Oh, smart. Unless Senator Johnson wants to withdraw their motion so we can vote on this?
Senator Johnson withdraws my motion.
Okay. I believe all the grammatical changes done. There was no other things. If not, it's going to be approved as is. All right, we can start roll call.
Mr. Speaker, can we do?
Has to be roll call. Alrighty. Call your name. Senator Shiloh. Senator Brown. Aye. Senator McDowell.
Aye.
Senator Allen. Senator Lee. Senator Banerjee.
Aye.
Senator Castellanos.
Aye.
Senator Garcia.
Aye.
Senator Gillis.
Aye.
Senator Guevara.
Aye.
Senator Johnson.
Aye.
Senator McFarland.
Aye.
Senator Ruiz. Senator Taylor.
Aye.
Senator Van Boris.
Aye.
Senator M. Aye. Senator Cowell.
Aye.
Senator Baker.
Aye.
Senator Iimerimalu. Aye. Senator Schulte is not present. We have the absolute 2/3 threshold, and S 2022 B2 has been passed. I want to thank the Senate for its patience with the whole discussion. Now it is referred to the office of the president for his note or. So we'll move on. Let's save this document. It's a long thing to print out. Now we have R4. I'm going to pull it up. Is there any motions on the floor, Senator Lee? Period questioning. Is there a second? All right, you have the first question.
A couple quick authors. I know I reached out and Winston. Never reached out.
I could talk more about that. No, we have not reached out.
If you mind, if I interject, I did show Kathleen this legislation.
Okay.
Kathleen is very involved in housing. I don't want to speak on behalf, so, and Devin, if you want to correct me, I know we showed this to Kathleen. Did Kathleen have any comments on this resolution? It was a very long conversation.
If the president speaks, recognize.
If no one objects, they can talk.
Good?
Yes.
This is the door decorations. You're talking about the meeting with.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak on behalf of Kathleen. I will say my understanding of what was discussed. But if they feel that that is not accurate. So, I think there was, there was some discussion on it. And I think there was some discussion about temporary options. Now having your name, I'll be honest, it is a little bit better with the housing. Your information, thing before the door tax can be completed. That was discussed. I don't want to state Kathleen's support or not of that. All I'll say is that that specific item was discussed in our legislation team. So I don't want to put words in their mouth. I just wanted to throw that out there that or I don't know how much that helps.
Similarly.
Arthur, okay. I have a question. Is, do you have a ballpark estimate?
I do I've had passing with students with classmates, friends of mine, so I don't have a specific, but I especially having lived, there are a lot of people. Sorry, I don't have it.
And then did you ask any of them housing or the resource. Inclusion, diversity, equity, and access at the page all on to that or to their RAs.
Yeah, mostly to the RAs because like a lot of this stems from issues I've had with housing since freshman year. So I back then. So my advice to peers who would come to me with these concerns was just, hey, RA. I know now, having done research and having written this, that there are policies in place that could sort of solve these issues. And since being educated, directed people in that direction.
As I move to as a queer person, they're obviously there. Anyway, there are other points.
Senator Johnson.
Moves that we go into a period of voting.
Senator Z.
Objects. Objected. Sure.
I would like to amend it. Like they can still have like the decoration, just like advance the name. Because I know a lot of them, they'll tape the name on. They'll have like the decoration on there so that the name doesn't feel like a
Can you tell me exactly how you want to state?
What if you resolve that door decorations will not have a student's name?
Not have. Trying to make sure I'm getting this right. Not have.
Place the second. At the beginning of the, okay. Door decorations will not have a student's name be placed on their doors.
On their door. Sorry, I'm more awful.
No student can what their purpose.
Is that good? Anyone? Is there a second? Anyone object? Passes. Which door? Where? There a second?
Regular seconds.
Object. Pass. Okay. Senator Johnson.
Senator Johnson moves into a period of voting.
Second.
Senator Ruiz seconds.
Anyone object? So let's have, okay, y'all. Let's address the concerns. Concerns are being brought up to make sure this legislation is being better. I understand 9 o'clock, that, but I want to make sure it's good.
Senator Garcia, second.
Right? Does
Senator Gillis object.
Okay.
Okay, I withdraw my objection. It's 9 o'clock.
So, does anyone object?
Point of information.
Okay.
Good.
You have to refer it before you table it, because if you table it for next week, you can refer it. We had that conversation earlier today. Okay. Do we want to postpone this until next week? Does anyone object? No. It's postponed until next week. Senator Brown. It will probably be postponed. If we didn't get to it, it'll be unfinished business. Implied, Senator Brown.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Does anyone object? All righty, so the meeting is adjourned at 9:02 p.m.
Sorry, David. I wanted to make a quick announcement to everybody.